Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. I'm going to jump right into it, and we're going to start with last night's City Council meeting. So, last night's City Council meeting, the big thing on the agenda that most people wanted to know was the mayor going to take more money from the free cash account, rainy day account, whatever you want to call it? What that is that's surplus of tax monies collected that were not spent. So, it's money that belongs to the taxpayers. Was she going to take more money out of that account to offset some of the tax increases that a lot of the property owners are going to see because of the sudden skyrocketing of home values over the past year? In many cases, 20%, and in some cases more. So it ended up 8-3 was the final vote, 3 in favor, and of course 8 against. So no more funds will be taken out of the rainy day account or the free cash account, whatever you want to call it. But no more funds will be taken out of there. So unfortunately, many of you are going to see your taxes go up, and it's going to be a good amount. Now, I love the way the city always talks about it too. I call it the Sally Struthers method. They always say, well, it's break it down this way. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee a day. That kind of thing. But basically, or they'll tell you home values going up is a good thing. You're building equity in your property and this and that. Look, home values went up because there's a national housing shortage. And on top of it, the feds have kept interest rates where they're at, which is incredibly low. So that's what has triggered this. And during the pandemic, you had a lot of people moving out of cities and things like that, but mainly what it is, more so than that part I think was minimal. It was, again, due to inflation and due to interest rates. So the reason I was for the mayor taking more money out of that free cash account to offset the burden on the taxpayers was because inflation, for one. We're seeing heating costs skyrocketing, grocery costs skyrocketing, fuel costs for transportation skyrocketing. All those are getting out of control. And, some people yesterday sent me a message, well, fuel should be going down because, they're going to be releasing more oil from the federal emergency reserves. That's not going to do anything. If you watch the market, within minutes of that being announced, oil started going up. So, and they're talking about an amount that would actually 2 to 2.5 days worth. I mean, the United States uses somewhere between 15 and 20 million barrels of oil a day. And you're talking about them releasing 50 million barrels. And now there's some rumors that won't even be going to the U.S. market. It'll be going to China or India. But anyway, regardless of all that, and I'm not trying to get into any national politics, it's not. I don't think you're going to see any decrease in fuel costs. I believed, even though they already took $1 million prior from the free cash account, that they should have taken at least another $1 million or $1.5 million more. Due to the circumstances. This is going to be an incredibly tough winter for people. As you've all seen, I've seen it myself every time I go to the grocery store, it's shocking. Every time I have to put gas in my car, it's shocking. And it happened so fast and nobody was prepared for it. With the ARPA funds that came in, I figured, the city, probably the mayor should understand more than ever. There's a reason that money came in, to offset the losses for the city. Why wouldn't we do the same thing as a city and return to the taxpayers with their own money? But no, the city is set on we need to build our coffers. We need to have that money in the free cash account. So rather than saying you deserve to have money in your savings account, they want you to help build the savings account for city government. That doesn't make sense to me under these circumstances, and I found it was wrong because in the middle of the pandemic, how many of you got a raise? The mayor got a raise. Our personnel director got a raise, which was not a contractual raise. The mayor's might have been. She was asked, many of you remember, if you watched the city council meeting, she was asked if she would be willing to not accept that raise at this time. And her answer was no. She felt she deserved it. It's just where we're at. So anyways, to most property owners, you're going to see an increase. And I also believe, as far as building equity in your properties, like they say, well, you're building equity that you can borrow against. As soon as the feds raise interest rates, and as soon as on the 10-year notes, which are mortgage-backed securities, as soon as that goes up, as soon as they raise rates, and they're talking a quarter basis point on that, well, you're going to see a slowdown, because now it's not going to be so easy for a lot of these people to get mortgages. They're not going to be where they're at, and you're going to see home values, I believe, adjust, and you're going to see all that slow down. So how much equity are you building? I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what's happening. But we know that eventually that the feds are going to have to raise rates. They're going to have to, because you have to do something to counter inflation. It's getting out of control. So I just can't believe that our city wouldn't go for that, to at least take some burden off of all the taxpayers. But that's where it's at. Another thing I want to mention briefly, because I've received quite a few messages from people about how are they, people who need to find apartments, and they're saying, how are they charging so much money for these apartments, especially off of Tyer Street? Well, it's a pretty simple explanation, and when I finish all my research, I'm going to do a full detailed, it'll be more than one video. But in 2017, under the last federal administration, in 2017, a new act was signed in for opportunity zones. And opportunity zones are areas that are designated under that moniker. They're designated an opportunity zone. And in an opportunity zone, investors can come in, develop properties, and do all these things, not have to pay capital gains tax, not have to pay taxes on the profits, and make a boatload of money. So most of Tyer Street, most of the Morningside area, up into part of North Street, and a little bit of the West Side is in an opportunity zone. It was designated that in 2017 or 18. And that's why you're seeing not just that development there, you're seeing those prices you're seeing for rent. Like when they talked about, which they voted to do it, to give $100,000, and I think it was from the Preservation Fund or something like that, to redevelop the Tyer Street Fire Station. And I was all for saving that, 100% for saving that. I liked the idea that Scott Graves had, which was he wanted to make it like a sort of coffee shop or place like that would be open to the public, and it would honor the history of our fire department, our police department, and it would be a very cool place. I loved that idea. But no, that's going to be apartments. And I believe the number that was thrown out for those apartments is $1,800 a month. So not only are they getting money from the city, it falls in an opportunity zone. So they also don't have to pay capital gains taxes on it. And they'll also not have to pay taxes on profits. So I'm going to do more on that, more research on that and the specifics of exactly how that works. But most of what I've found on opportunity zones, there's a lot of economic professors, many economists that are completely against it, and they say that's set up for corruption. It's set up for bad things to happen, and they don't see where it truly adds any value to the communities that it's supposed to be helping. But if you want to know why you're seeing those rents, why you're seeing rents that are in many cases double what people's mortgages are, that's why. So I'll be talking about that later again, but that's a massive problem in Pittsfield, finding rental properties that are affordable. So you want to talk about, we talk about retaining young people here, and I saw that our local newspaper has been doing a series on why we lost so many employees and in the workforce, and it, that they said, surprise, you might not believe this, but it wasn't due to funding coming from the government or unemployment. Yeah, I said that 3 months ago or longer. Specifically in a community like ours, you're seeing rents that are unobtainable for most, as well as these jobs pay. They're not enough for somebody to be able to maybe pay student loans, pay for a car payment and insurance and groceries, and pay rent on an apartment, and work a job that is wait staff, bartender, something like that, because it's the service industry that took the biggest hit. And that's, in our community, that's a big part of it. I know a lot of people that moved out during the pandemic. Even though our estimated population, if you look at businesspittsfield.com, look at what they have for population on there of the city, 42 and change. And look where they say it's at now, almost 44,000. Even though the last census done has us taking a 1.8% decrease over 10 years, but they're saying from 2019 to the last census, we gained a couple thousand people in Pittsfield. I don't know, that's confusing too, and I could see that was confusing to many candidates during the debate before the election, or not debates, but forums, because nobody was really debating. But anyway, there's a lot to talk about with that. I am starting the Pittsfield business tour. I have many businesses that have already reached out to me and are scheduled. If you haven't seen the GoFundMe and you can give, it is up and going. And that money is crucial for me to be able, the more money I get in there, the more of these I can go out and do. Because I don't charge any of the businesses. If they want to make a donation, that's awesome. But there's no charge for me doing that. The idea is to help as many of our businesses as we can. And really to start building community, to stop fighting with each other, and to stop all that nonsense that a lot of our city government and city politicians propagate. They push that mentality here. I'd rather see community come together, which in the long run gets more people to the polls, more people engaged in what's happening in the city. So anyway, if you can give to the GoFundMe, it's a huge help. The more money I get in there, the more of those videos I can do. Because to put videos on Facebook through a business page, it's not free if you want to reach anybody. So money has to go behind every one of those. And usually on my videos, you'll see a disclaimer at the bottom saying paid for, and it has my name and all that. That's why. And then, of course, the production costs and now fuel costs of driving out and meeting with them and all the equipment, the SD cards, none of that stuff is cheap. It adds up. Every video ends up costing me a few $100. When I do, like during the bar tour. And the bar tour, everybody was great. I mean, that fundraiser raised about $1,800, and it covered most of it. We were able to get, I think it was 9 or 10 businesses that we were able to feature, and it was a lot of fun, and for a lot of them it helped, and that's the idea also. So anyways, if you can give to that, please do. I am putting together another volunteer trash pickup in the Allendale area. I already have people, I mentioned it in the last video, and I have people that already messaged me saying they would be more than happy to participate in that. So if we can beat the snow, I will definitely organize that and get that going. Also, I need volunteers. I want to put together a sidewalk shoveling team for our seniors and disabled folks. And I know it's a lot to ask from some people, but if there's any way, please message the page. If you're willing to do that after a snowstorm, the more of us we can get together, we can go out and bust that out and clear these sidewalks really in an hour or so. We just need the people to do it. So if you're interested in volunteering for that, I know again it's a lot to ask, but it's a huge thing. And it's a huge help to our senior citizens and to our disabled folks who cannot get out when their sidewalks get plowed in. They get trapped and they need the help. So if you're interested, please message me on that. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. That's huge. I put all my eggs in the Facebook basket. It's better to kind of spread that out. The website I am working on, so within the next week or two, you'll start to see some big changes on there. And then, of course, like the Facebook page if you haven't already. And don't be afraid to give me a good review. All those help. So if you go to reviews, it's right there. You can click on it. And if you can leave a positive review, if you enjoy the page, please do. If you're going to be nasty just to be nasty, I hope you don't, but some people do that. They're usually under fake profiles, and I can get them taken off. But anyway, that is it for now. Everyone pay attention. I'll have another video out tomorrow going over a bunch of other stuff, but pay attention. Sorry that to most of the property owners you're going to be seeing an increase in your taxes, but just pay attention to what's going on. Don't be afraid to contact your counselors. Don't be afraid to contact City Hall. Voice your opinion and volunteer. Get involved. When we do these group things, the more the better. It sends a strong message. The less people that show up, it shows city government that we're not paying attention. Again, that's it for now, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.